Big Buddhist birthday celebration at Providence Zen Center, which was very wonderful. And that's when the 3-month retreat ends and everybody comes out and there's cake and ice cream and all the people who sat Kilchit get a headache suddenly. So anyway, now comes the interactive portion of this evening. So Carl gave you all something to think about, and some of you are here in the intro class for the first time. So this part is meant to be interactive. So anything on your mind, any kind of question you have about what you heard tonight, about your practice, something in your life and how Zen can perhaps address that, please don't be shy. I'm very patient, I'll wait. Yes?
Sometimes it seems like I always feel like I'm trapped in my life situation. Like, even if it was something I really wanted to do when it started,
Yeah.
after a while this wasn't what I was looking for. Maybe something else is what I was looking for.
Yeah.
But now I can't change it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I feel that way. I don't even know if that's a question, I'm sorry.
Well, you don't have to apologize. That's, I think, how all of us know how that feels, how to feel trapped. You know, in India, they catch monkeys by hollowing out a pumpkin. At least they say that's what they do. I've never actually, this might be just a Buddhist tall tale, I don't know. But they say that's what they do, is they'll put like a banana or something sweet inside of a gourd. And the monkey will put its hand in to get the thing, but then they construct it in such a way that, because the monkey's holding on to the thing, it can't get its hand out. And so then they catch it, because it's attached to the ground, you know. And all the monkey has to do, and I'm not calling you a monkey, by the way. Don't take offense. All the monkey has to do is to let go of that thing, and the hand can come out. And that's just like our consciousness, you know. And it happens in very gross, big, not so subtle ways, and it happens in the subtlest ways all day long. Right? It's that state of mind. I call it resistance. It's that resistance. I don't want to be at my job. I don't want to be here. I don't want to be in this traffic. I don't want to wear these high heels. I don't want to wear this pantyhose. It's too tight. I don't want to get up and go to practice. I don't want to bow. I don't want to sit. All this thinking that we have, it's like it's that clenching. And so we create, Buddhism says mind makes everything, right? So we create that feeling of being trapped. But equally wonderful is that we have the tools to also let go. And as soon as we do, free. And, I think this is one of those things that happens, about 5,000 times in an hour. So we have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And that's why we call this thing practice. So I hope that helps you. Next time you feel that way, it's like our thinking comes and we can't control what kind of thought comes into our consciousness, right? That's by cause and effect. That's karma. So something comes into our consciousness, we may not want it there. That famous joke, don't think of a pink elephant. So we may not want it there. We can't control that, but we can control what we do with it. Do we grab it like the monkey, or do we just let it go? Okay? More questions? Yes?
What is meant by faith in Zen practice, and how does that compare to the way that faith is thought of in other religions?
I don't know so much in other religions, but I bet anyone who's really practicing deeply in any tradition would probably come to that same point. And faith means, what is this? What is this? This is faith. Okay? More questions?
I didn't get that.
So, faith means when you're doing something, just do it. So faith is that willingness to have that mind. What is this? And that could be there if you're Catholic or you're Jewish or you're Muslim or Buddhist. That's prayer. If you meet people in other traditions who really practice, everybody comes to that same point. It was funny, one time I was in Spain teaching, and we did this retreat at this place called Montserrat. And it's this really beautiful mountain, and there's this hermit, a Catholic hermit, that supposedly is up in this mountain of Montserrat. And so after we did our Youngman Janjin, everybody was telling me about this hermit. And so I said, well, why don't we go and meet the hermit? And everybody said, oh, we can't go meet the hermit. He hasn't spoken to anyone in like years. You can't just go in there and meet him. I said, well, let's just drive over there and try. So, it was kind of adventurous, and off we went. So we drive up this mountain, we go to this monastery, and there's it's kind of like a church, and it's big, and it's Spanish, and we sit down in the lobby, and who do you think comes out but the hermit of Montserrat, right? And he's this very regular guy. He's about to go out, and he's got a bag on his shoulder. He's a Catholic priest, and there's about 10 of us. And the translator says, we're these Buddhist people, and we'd really like to meet the hermit. May we? And so he was like, sure. So we go into this room, and I said to him, well, you've been sitting here for 40 years. So what did you attain? And he picked up his finger, and he said, the kingdom of God can be found in the tip of my finger. And so I said, that's very interesting. Guji Zen master, when anybody ever asked him a question, always raised one finger. What does it mean? And he answered me. Catholic, right? Buddhist, same. That's faith. That was very interesting. When he ever did that, we were all like, oh my gosh, that's the same what we do. So faith is that willingness to show up, moment to moment to moment, with a mind that says, what is this? And open heart. I don't know what's going to happen. Let me see. Let me find out. That suspension of disbelief. Yes?
Okay, this is more questions about that question, but so faith is not like not having any preconceived notions, just being here and with expectancy?
Yeah, I think just that willingness to show up is faith.
Mm-hmm.
When we lose our faith, it's more like our thinking mind takes over, like Carl was talking about, and we rationalize and we explain away, and we go away from the truth. We leave the moment of truth, and we leave.
Mm-hmm.
And the faith is like, let me come back, let me come back, let me come back. For 10,000 years, keep trying. That's faith. And I think that's the same in every tradition. St. John, I think it was, said that true prayer, now this is a guy who never read any Buddhist stuff or anything like that. He said, somebody asked him, well, what is praying? And he said, praying means being willing to come back 10,000 times in a half an hour. And that's what we do when we meditate. We have this simple task, breathe in, breathe out. What am I? And then what we do is we breathe in, breathe out. Oh! We go away. So, more questions? Yes?
I'm not new to the Buddhist tradition, but I am new to the Zen way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, 2 questions. One is, you come from a Korean background. What are the differences between the Korean and the Japanese style of Zen? And the other question is, where does mindfulness fit into the tradition? Or is mindfulness and Zen one and the same?
Well, I actually started out in the Tibetan tradition for a number of years and then spent a good long time in the Vipassana school. And I hate to like copy my teacher all the time, but you know, it's like reinventing the wheel. Why bother? I think he put it very well. He said, you know, oh, there's all these different traditions, and all they are is like different eating utensils. So he said in Korea, they use chopsticks and a spoon. And in India, you eat with your hand. And in the United States, you use a fork and a knife, you know. So they're different utensils, but the point is, eat the food. Digest this food. Use this food. And I really think that's true. I think the different traditions use different techniques that cater to different personalities and characters. And so I always encourage everyone to check out all of the traditions. I don't think that we own the corner on the market. You know, I think that all of these are different kind of shoes that we can use to walk, and if the shoe fits, then you can wear it. And if the shoe's not comfortable, you're not going to want to wear it. So, that said, I think each tradition has different strengths. You know, so Zen has some strengths, and I think the Tibetan tradition has some strengths, and so does the Vipassana tradition. There's a great emphasis on mindfulness in the Vipassana tradition. That's incredible. The thing that they do in the Vipassana tradition is they really map it out for you. So if you walk in off the street and you've never sat before, you get like handheld instructions, you know, when you sit down. So the first time I went there, you know, you count your breath, and then, you know, after a couple of days of the retreat, the teacher suddenly, you know, you're not even aware of the sounds around you. The teacher says, now notice the sounds. And all of a sudden you're like, tweet, 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 tweet. You're like, oh, sound. Then a few days later, now notice the feeling in your body. You know, now notice the intention to think. So you get they go very, very slowly. When you sit at a Vipassana retreat, it kind of looks like you're in an asylum, because people are all over the lawn just walking very staring at the wall. And then meals take like 2 hours, you know. It's like one raisin in the mouth. We don't do it like that, but I'll tell you something, it's really effective. Really, really effective. And your attention gets so honed that you can see the intention to think before you think. It's very interesting. Then you come to our school and you walk in the door and they're like, okay, welcome. Excellent. You sit down over there, only go straight, don't know, okay? And I remember the first time I went to PZC, that's what they said. They're like, you sit there. And then the meal. So I sat down. I thought, well, I'm kind of glad I had that Vipassana thing, because otherwise I would have no clue what I was doing here. And then the meal came. Now it's the opposite of the Vipassana meal. So the Korean meal, you get these 4 bowls. It's really very efficient, because when the meal's over, everything's cleaned up. You get the 4 bowls, and people come around, and you take just the right amount of food that you want, but whatever you take, you have to eat it. Okay? Now, unbeknownst to me, this meal's going to go very, very quickly. So, like that style is don't attach to food. Like, food is just so you can, you know, do your inside job, so you can do your outside job. Like, it's not, don't get all caught up in it. And they each have a strength, you know. So, the gochujang comes around, this very hot, spicy paste, and I had never had it. And this monk, Muriang Snim, who actually was Eric at the time, he leaned over to me and I had this huge glob of it, like huge. And he said, you know, that's really very hot. I was like, I love hot food. So now all the food's there, and I've got these 4 bowls, and I'm thinking it's going to be Vipassana style. We're going to be mindfully taking our time and eating this food, and the chukpi goes, boom, 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 and everyone's like, jo, 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 jo. like it's over, right? And I got this glob of gochujang in this bowl. And I'm pouring it from one bowl to the other bowl, hoping it's going to go away. It's not going away, you know? And wiping the bowl and like this gochujang water with like rice floating in it, okay? Little did I know, you had to drink it. You couldn't, now you can't waste anything in the Korean meal, right? So there's another great teaching. Don't waste. You know, that any little crumb gets offered back to the hungry ghost, right? So now I'm trying to drink this thing. Awful. Just gagging and sputtering. I thought, wow, that is the complete opposite. Now I go into the room, I'm used to the stone cold silence of the Vipassana thing, and I think that is the way. And then all these Korean Bosal names come in, and they're in our room, and they're all talking, right? And laughing, and I'm like thinking in my mind, this is not correct. We should be keeping silence. These women are all like complete bodhisattvas, you know? They only help the temple. They're not attached to the either way. They're like only bodhisattvas. So it's really interesting the stuff that you learn as you see these different traditions and what you hold on to and the notions that we get about what's proper practice. You know, Sun Tzu always had that great story of plastic flowers, plastic mind. So in New York one time, long time ago, same kind of thing. There was going to be an opening ceremony for something, I don't know, celebrating something. Maybe it was a Buddha's Enlightenment Day or whatever. So there were all these young Western hippie types there, and they liked the natural flowers. And these Korean Bosal names came in, and they had all these plastic flowers they put on the altar. And so the hippie guy, when the Bosal name wasn't looking, took all the flowers off the altar and threw them in the trash and put like a couple of natural daisies up there. They're probably wilted or something. So then the Bosal name came back and she saw the flowers in the trash. She was like, oh my goodness, who put these in the trash? And she put them back up on the altar. And then he became very distressed. And he went to Daesan Tsunim. He said, Sun Tsunim, you know, we're trying to make a nice thing here. And these plastic flowers are fake and they're ugly. And that's when he said to the student, you know, if you make plastic, it's your mind that's plastic. Plastic flowers are okay, real flowers are okay. Buddha doesn't care. So, I don't know, I think all of these different traditions teach us different things, and what I'm grateful for, especially here in the West, I mean, we have access to all of it. We can go practice with anyone we want, any day that we want. Especially here in Cambridge, you could go to a Dharma talk every night in a different tradition and probably do that for a year. There's so many people out there. And, you know, I encourage you to do it. See what you can learn, see what resonates, and digest that. It's not the utensil, it's the food. So hopefully that's helpful. Any other questions? Yes, Rick.
What is your favorite food?
Food which can be digested. What's yours?
I remember that story.
Yeah.
I like to digest that story.
What time is it?
8:15.
Okay. So, any more questions? Maybe one more? Yes.
If it's just one more, I will ask another.
Mm.
I always worry that I'm not going to be committed enough to something because I'm already have a flighty kind of ADD mind that just wants to do new things all the time. I'm afraid if I go to a lot of different types of meditation places and a lot of different types of Dharma centers, that I'll become confused and not sure which one I should go with and end up not picking any of them and just constantly worried that I'm not doing the right one. Shouldn't I just commit to one and just have faith that it's going to be the right one?
Well, I think you worry in advance a little bit. You've got like a prepaid worry card going. It's loaded up. I put a big deposit on that, huh? You have to believe in yourself. I mean, I'm not really saying go to a different Dharma talk every night for a year. But I am saying, certainly check out a few different things. See what feels right to you. I know I learned that the hard way. I started in the Tibetan tradition. I didn't know there were other traditions. I had no idea. Providence Zen Center was about a 20-minute drive from my house. I went to Nepal to find a teacher. Like, that's my style. Like, slow, dumb, right? Then climbed to the top of a mountain. Took me 3 weeks to get up there. Knocked on the door. What do you think the lady told me? Lama? Lama's in New York. Yeah, true story. But anyway, so I didn't know there was a Zen and this and that. And so I thought it was all the same stuff. Buddhism was so new then. So the Tibetan people were the ones who were there. They were absolutely fantastic. These lamas, like, you would look at them, you could see, you could feel the love. You could just feel the clarity. You could just wanted to be them. You're just in their presence, like, whatever you're doing, I want to do it because it's working, right? For you, anyway. But then, I'd go to these retreats and I couldn't do the technique at all. So they wanted you to, imagine these gurus and demons with 16 arms and different rings on every hand, and I couldn't see the images at all. And then I would look at my Lama and my teacher, and I'd feel very guilty and very sad, and I would try that much harder to see the demons and Yamantaka and, this kind of thing. And it was like trying to sit in that tradition, sit down and I'd try to see the thing. And I did that for a long, long time, a couple of years. And one day, the lamas were there. There was Song Rinpoche, Gonsar Rinpoche, Geshe Jeltsin, all these wonderful men that I really loved, and I wanted to be like them. And I started to cry. I didn't know about Zen yet. And I said to them, there was a Coke bottle next to me, and I said, I can't see this stuff, it's very complicated. They said, why can't we just find Buddha in this Coke bottle? That's a very Zen thing to say. I didn't know it was Zen thing to say at the time, right? So why can't we just find Zen in this Coke bottle? And then the three of them started conversing in Tibetan, and then they all burst out laughing. And they said, if you want to find Buddha in the Coke bottle, go ahead. No problem. And then when they said that, I knew, okay, I can go. Their minds were free and their technique worked for them. But I could have spent 10 years suffering there. I would have never seen the deity. And then I went over to the Vipassana school, and they did this thing where they were breathe in, breathe out. Now that, okay. And then things started to change for me in the practice, because I started to be able to, it was food that I could digest. Visualization wasn't a technique that I could do. So that's what I mean about, just at least try a few things that many of you here already know what tradition you want to practice in, that's fine. But if you've never seen anything, then do check it out. And then when you decide on one, then go with it. You can't just keep building foundations here and then say, oh, that's a better place to build a house, and go over there, and you get all these foundations and you have no house. Okay, so once you do decide on that spot and you make a foundation, then you build a house there. But you don't have to worry about it, and you can trust yourself, because your true self knows. It knows. Just the way it knows that wall is white, and not green, and not purple. And just the way when you hear a dog go, woof, woof, you know, oh, that's a dog. It's not a cat. That's just like that. So we have to trust ourselves, believe our true self 100%, get enlightenment, and save all beings from suffering. Thank you.